Let's quickly talk about top of funnel content. So if you have a business, right? Whether you have a startup or you have an established business or you have a business that's actually growing in transition, if you will, you got to really pay attention to top of funnel content. So let me first give you the overall sort of knowledge you need to have about top of funnel content. So the best way to picture your sales funnel is actually to look at the sum of three distinct parts, right? You have the top funnel, the middle funnel, and the bottom funnel. So you have top funnel TOEFL, middle funnel MIFO, and bottom funnel BOFO. Okay. So one thing you need to really understand here is that every section is designed to bring in leads at different stages of their buyer journey, from awareness to consideration to decision. By the time a lead reaches the bottom of your funnel, they should be ready to buy actually. But getting them there can be tricky, okay? So in today's conversation, I want to look at the top of funnel, the tofu content that you can use to generate high quality leads. Because the whole thing is you want to have high quality leads, okay? Not just any leads, because leads that are not high quality, they're just wasting your time and resources. So tofu, top of the funnel content, is actually content that attracts and engages leads who are in the early stages of their buyer journey. It's actually designed to generate awareness of a problem or need and to introduce leads to potential solutions like yours. In other words, you have to really, but this is not the time to show your unique selling proposition. You have to show that either as like a middle of funnel content or bottom of funnel content, both. Okay, but the bottom line here is to actually bring them from awareness to desire. Okay, and so tofu content is usually informational and relatively general in nature. It's not actually designed to sell a specific product or service, but rather to generate interest in what you have to offer, right? So this is important from a flexibility point of view. So generally, tofu content targets a broad audience, provides answers, templates, examples, or solutions, aims to generate leads rather than sell to them, and directs leads onto the middle of the final content, the MOFU content. So let me talk to you about top of the funnel content examples. So you need to understand that when we speak about tofu, we're speaking about content that can take several examples or several forms, several variations. Okay. So when I say several forms, those forms include blog posts, videos, infographics, tweets, ebooks, emails, and more. Okay. The thing that unites this wide range of content is the intent behind it to raise awareness of a problem or need and introduce potential solutions. Okay. And you can do this through various formats. You can do this through data, actionable insights, or tutorials and demonstrations. So when I say data, I'm speaking about statistics, facts, definitions, and research summaries. Okay, so you have lots of flexibility there. And when I say actionable insights, here I'm speaking about tips, best practices, guides, and tools actually. And you can also do a TOEFL content through tutorials and demonstrations. So demos, okay. For example, how to's, examples, explainer videos, okay. So this is really cool, especially when you are thinking about flexibility, but also consistency. And you have lots of examples in the real world there. I mean, the thing is that the purpose of TOEFL content is to actually educate your audience. That's the first quintessential goal that you have to like. Usually, when you think about TOEFL, you have three main purposes: TOEFL content, educate your audience, raise brand awareness, and generate new leads. So when I say educate your audience, users stumble upon top of funnel content when they have burning questions. So your first goal is to answer those questions, okay? Not to sell them anything or to sell your program or anything. No, just answer those questions. And you also want to raise brand awareness. So TOEFL content builds audience trust by branding your company as knowledgeable and helpful. And now you want to generate new leads. So Much of your traffic will get the information they need and move on, but some of it will travel further down your funnel, such as by joining your email list. Okay, so your top of the funnel audience is not looking to buy right now. That's why the main goal at this stage, actually, one of the main goals, I mean, or at least the main goals, don't include making sales. You're not making sales actually. Okay, so basically, instead, you're helping them out of a problem. You help them for free, so that your brand will be at the top of their mind when they need your services. So when you think about top of funnel, you also got to think about marketing. So, top of funnel marketing is actually planning and executing a content strategy to reach audiences at the top of your sales funnel. Okay, so TOFU marketing includes researching audience needs, creating engaging and genuinely helpful content, working out a way to move people down your funnel, right? That's what you want them to have. You want to move them down your funnel. But everything starts by researching your audience's needs, okay? So, one thing I want to say here is that if you are struggling to think of tofu topics to cover in your marketing, you want to give a few strategies a try. First of all, you want to perform long tail keyword research. You want to look for common questions in online forums. You want to solve audience problems, right? It's all about solving their pain points. It's all about adding value. And when I say adding value, it's not just about being vague or random. No, you got to really add. You have to bring a solution to a specific problem, and the solution has to be granular. The solution has to be comprehensive, and the solution has to be specific. In other words, you're not just speaking generally, like in vague terms. You're using specific examples. So when I say perform long tail keyword research, top of the funnel content doesn't usually target high competition keywords with strong buyer intent. Instead, it aims for long tail keywords with informational search intent. For example, let's say you are a content marketing agency trying to create tofu content. So instead of targeting a high buyer intent keyword like content marketing services, you might target an informational keyword such as what is a content marketing strategy, content marketing tips, or what is content marketing. So to find long tail keywords, you can use a free tool like Google's suggested searches or an actual paid tool like Ahrefs or Uber Suggest. You also can look for common questions in online forums such as Reddit and others, okay, or Quora. So those are both great places to find questions people are asking for, okay, or even asking in your about your industry. Those questions are also often perfect topics to cover in your top of the funnel content. Okay, for instance, you want to like if you are searching for SEO in Quora, you get results like what are the basics of SEO, what are the main SEO techniques, do you do SEO on a whole website or on a single page? And again, you want to solve audience problems in all its granularity. So when I think about the top of funnel content, you need to understand that you also have three no funnel alternatives to consider this year because you don't have to really go through the tofu, the mofu, or the bofu sort of process. Okay, so the best solution to the shortcomings of the funnel is to have no funnel at all. Okay, and here is why: you are better off adapting to consumer behavior, not forcing it. Right? You just wait for consumers to tell you where their needs are, to tell you what trains are shifting, and just follow the trains. Okay, don't try to really force the trains. Okay, you can also have a more efficient use of content marketing, and also a more helpful way to create content. So when I say, let me first explain. So when I say adapting to consumer behavior, not forcing it, you are better off focusing on how consumers naturally interact with the content instead of trying to dictate their journey. So make your content easily accessible without imposing how it should be consumed, whether at a tofu level or a mofu level or bofu level. You also want to have a more efficient use of content marketing in the sense that content can work both pre sales and post sales. It doesn't have to be useful in one moment in time, right? It can be designed to stay useful and relevant over time. And also, you can have a more helpful way to create content. So, no time wasted on deciding whether that guide you're about to write belongs to the top or middle of the funnel. You can simply focus on delivering value and delighting your audience, actually. Okay. So, let me give you three different no funnel models that share those advantages. So first of all, you have the business potential framework. So this is something that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs do and do very successful, by the way. So this approach, so the business potential framework, actually, it's all about using your content to directly boost demand for your product, whether before or after a sale. In other words, when you're drafting content for your product, you're constantly highlighting the value that your content is actually adding to the consumer's lives. So instead of sorting content by stages of a sales funnel, you rate it based on how closely it relates to your product. Okay, so this is really important, and I want you to really look on the screen right now, the kind of screenshot that I have here. So basically, you can score your product, okay, from 0 to 3, like 0 being there's absolutely no way to mention your product, to 3, your product is an irreplaceable solution to the problem. Okay, so this is important to really understand how to position your content. So it's a really good, especially in terms of flexibility. Okay, and one thing I want you to really understand here is that it all depends on your niche, of course. So, for example, for a content marketing tool, topics with high business potential would include content marketing metrics, B2B content marketing, content ideation, content optimization, and content distribution. Okay. And this is really good. And you would not have an interview with content marketers or a history of content marketing. Those are not really useful. Now, this scoring system makes planning your content strategy really easy. You can quickly decide how much of each type of content to make. Also, you can use it with other important metrics. Okay, so that's really good to further prioritize content. And one thing I want to say here is that you really have to see what works for you. I'm showing you on the screen here a type of example in terms of doing research and see the kind of content that could appeal to your specific audience. The second example is the content playground. Okay, so this is a model that reimagines the buyer's journey as an open, interactive space similar to a playground, moving away from the traditional funnels linear path, right? Because the traditional model, you have tofu, mofu, and bofu. Here you have more of a what I call a labyrinth, if you think about it. Okay, so this model aims to cater. You can see this on the screen here. Okay, it seems to cater to a varied audience interest and learning styles by offering a mix of deep dives, strategic frameworks, and practical tips. And to achieve this, you want to cover topics in 3 levels: conceptual, strategic, and tactical. So when I say conceptual, you are covering big ideas and their significance. Strategic, you want to outline frameworks and processes. And tactical, you want to provide specific actionable steps. Okay, so staying with the content marketing tool example, topics you would create content about could look like: what is content marketing? That's conceptual. Developing a content marketing strategy, strategic, and how to promote content, tactical. Okay, so this is really important from a flexibility point of view. And one thing I want to say here is that I want to really illustrate this for you further. So take a look right now on the screen. So here's a screenshot. So this content hub on Agile from Atlassian is designed to be a content playground. So there is a mix of all 3 types of content, and the user can start at any point, go as deep as they like, and jump to another topic at any time, right? So that's really cool. So naturally, the content needs to be interlinked and ungated. so consumers may actually access it however they want and navigate through it freely. Because the whole thing is you're not trying to sell anything, right? You're trying to really incentivize them to read more about your brand and get to know what you're selling, okay? And so that's really cool. And so the bonus of that is that you are getting organic traffic from related keywords, and that's really cool. And but a playground doesn't need to be confined to one site. As long as you tackle a topic with these three types of models and allow people to access them freely, you can have it scattered across a limitless number of sites and platforms. You can have landing pages, you can have microsites, you can have a blog post, you can have social media, you can have email, you can have ebooks. It really depends on how you want to structure your content. Okay, so that's really good. Finally, you have the cluster channel network. So if you think about top of funnel content and you're looking for no funnel alternatives, you can think about the cluster channel network. And so one thing I want to say here is that basically there are two core elements for the CCN framework, the cluster channel network. So you have clusters and you have channels. So clusters are thematic groupings of content around a central topic, right? And those are supported by a network of related subtopics. So they represent actually things people care deeply about. And that's number one. Number two, you have channels. So channels are platforms and mediums through which your message reaches your audience. They represent meeting places that bring you and your audience together to talk about things they care about. So think advertising, email, social media, Google. So CCN, the cluster channel network, ensures that you have a multi-channel presence with content that both attracts your audience and makes your brand an authority in a carefully picked selection of topics. So that's really good from a flexibility point of view. And what's more, this is an efficient framework because it allows you to squeeze out the most of any topic. The bottom line is that you're able to actually have a conversation through your content about you can have a conversation at any stage of the buyer journey. Okay, so and this is because this framework consists of 5 steps that all help your brand over time. So you want to identify relevant clusters. You can choose clusters aligned with your brand's expertise and audience interest. You can define subtopics. So within each cluster, you want to pinpoint subtopics for comprehensive coverage. You want to produce actually core content. So select actually a primary channel and format for in-depth content, making this your centerpiece to attract traffic from other platforms. You want to distribute across channels, so repurpose the core content into smaller channel-specific formats. And finally, you want to interlink clusters and subtopics. So what happens here is that you want to connect related clusters and subtopics. Chances are people interested in more than one cluster, let's say SEO and content marketing, will be able to find your content anyway. Okay, so if we were to visualize this framework, this CCN framework, consisting of several clusters, it will look like something like this. I want you to look on the screen here. So you have topic clusters, core content on subtopics, repurposing and promotion, and finally you have links. Okay, so content playground could be visualized as a fully connected network with different node sizes. Okay, so this is really cool from a flexibility point of view as well. So in conclusion to this conversation, I spoke to you about top of funnel content, TOFU content. I explained what TOFU content really is, okay, the purpose of such a model, and also how do you do TOFU marketing. And finally, I gave you also some 3 no funnel alternatives that you should consider this year. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.